KTN News. Get the whole story.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express. Now, the horror of teenagers caught in party orgies is the basis of our Twitter poll question this morning. We are asking you, is poor parenting to blame for indiscipline among teenagers? And some of the teenagers have come out this morning, guns blazing, telling us what they think about this. And we have some of them saying we shall be old very soon. We have another here who says they are living their own lives the way they choose. Tell us what you think. Are you a teenager? Why do you think this is happening among your age group? And of course, for the parents, tell us what the problem seems to be. This is a very hot topic, a trending topic, seemingly negative, actually quite negative. The fact that young people are out and being lured into orgies and sex parties and even the DCI has come out to warn that there are gangs who are prowling for these young people. So, of course, be a part of the conversation. I shall be making your comments a part of that. But this is time for The Way It Is, where we take a look at some of the biggest topics that have been making headlines. And the fact that the COVID-19 curve is not flattening in Kenya has a lot of us concerned. And obviously the fact that we are hemorrhaging medics is another big concern for the country. We have lost over 11 medics to the coronavirus. We are having over 1,000 people dead owing to that same virus, and the numbers are way past 70,000. So what gives? I'll start with Honorable Odera. What is your take on the situation of the coronavirus and the fact that we're losing valuable expertise to this disease?
I think that government should ensure that, first of all the materials that are supposed to protect the medics, we need our medics motivated, we need them protected, and we need them willing to work. Of course, it's also worrying that they've issued a strike notice, that they'll be going on strike on 6th December. We have to worry about that. And part of the concerns they have that have caused them to issue a strike notice and threaten to go on strike are the protective materials. Of course, there's salary and other issues, which I think the ministry needs to prioritize, first of all, the protective equipment, and put in any effort to ensure that those who are exposing themselves in a bid to save lives and to try and get rid of corona from our country must be protected. So it is saddening to note that there is material lying in the KEMSA stores that is not released to the medics. There is materials that are supposed to be distributed to the counties that have not been distributed. And therefore, it is a concern that almost it's self-inflicted pain, that the country itself is responsible for the death of its medics. And therefore, the medics have every reason to be up in arms and raising concerns and threatening to go on strike for certain things that can easily be dealt with by a country. The materials are here. It is mind-boggling that those materials are not distributed. Whatever the issue may be, life must take priority. Saving the country from the ravages of corona must take priority. And you remember that corona is not just a health crisis. It has hit the economy really, really hard. And to save this country from economic decline, those materials need to be distributed. Medics need to be listened to for their cause. This is a unique crisis.
Yes.
I mean, in a century, the world has not faced such a crisis. So every effort must be made. Every arm of government must rise. The minister responsible for health, the president did institute an investigation that was supposed to take 21 days. Those 21 days are long gone now. We have not seen action. And therefore, people begin to worry whether government is doing its best to protect its people or also protect lives by
Okay, Honorable Odera, you call it mind-boggling. I think it's a shame that we have lost 30 medics, 12 of whom are specialists in various fields of medicine. Now, Mr. Wedder, when you see this particular story and those things that have been raised by Honorable Odera are quite true. We are having equipment, and it feels as if the government is letting down the people and the doctors. And if they do down their tools, then we are literally sitting ducks. What do you make of this situation?
I think the problem is we elected the wrong leaders.
Okay.
Honorable Odera is here complaining when they're supposed to represent us and talk on our behalf and push government on our behalf. The other day you saw a member of parliament saying we need helicopters and ambulances on standby. They don't care about doctors, they don't care about wananchi. Wananchi, on the other hand, also, they think they are their own doctors. They are told social distance, do this, they refuse, and now we are where we are. The doctors we have lost, some of them, it will take us another 3 decades, 30 years to get some of them, because they are highly qualified, overqualified, internationally qualified. We have lost them because the cream doctors are in the older age bracket. We are losing them not because we would have lost them, but because we are defiant. We are rebellious. The people are rebellious. The government is rebellious. We talk more on BBI than removing the equipment for the doctors. We are quick to think about collecting signatures than protecting the very doctors who treat us when we are unwell. I think something is deeply wrong, but a fish rots from the head. I am pleading with my president, take leadership straight so that we get out of this pandemic. Otherwise, we are sunk. When the doctors, you will find that the doctors and the medical teams, if you go to this country, they are not paid, but the motor vehicle attendants, those who collect tickets along the roads for parking attendants, they are paid full. But you find these doctors, these medical people, 7 months, some of them have not been paid. What does that mean? That means we don't even recognize the work they do. And as long as we do all these things, we do PBI collection signatures, we don't pay doctors, we want ambulances for ourselves and all these things. I remember the president said, you are on your own, people will continue to die. I have said before, I continue to say, pain is the seed for change. It seems people will have to feel that pain for them to change. It is sad. It is sad. I feel very sad about it. But maybe that is the only reality. I just wish people change. Mheshimiwa Odera, my brother Joe Mutambo, when we elect you to represent us, please represent us, not yourselves.
Okay. Now we have lost quite some of these specialists that have been we have lost include Dr. Anthony Were, Dr. Adisa Lugaliki, we have Dr. Robert Aisi, we've also lost Dr. Faith Ambeba, amongst others. Now the WHO stipulates that we should have a ratio of 1 to 1,000 doctors, but then in Kenya we are at 1 to 16,000 doctor to patient, and we have a deficit of over 40,000 doctors. Honorable Mutambo, when you see that and when you talk about representation, Mr. Wedder has brought out a very interesting and true point that sometimes we sense a bit of selfishness from legislators as opposed to them going out to represent the people that voted for them. What do you make of that situation, and what in terms of leadership needs to change?
Just to remind my good brother, Ambrose Wedder, Arthur Odera and I are not elected anymore. We are just normal Kenyans like him, and we are making noise the way he's making. We are not in the parliament today. And we have other people who are representing the constituencies we used to represent. So I think it is important I clear that we are former members. We are not sitting members of parliament. Yes, I may agree with him that legislation is very important, and I think when I was talking about the legislation, he is the first person who was saying, no, laws will not do this, will not do that. But it is important to have legislation which will lead to the proper governance of our country. It is very disturbing when you see such things happening. And you know, I would want to also inform him that during my time as a member of parliament, I tried as much as I could to introduce bills, including taking some of the services which are devolved back to national government. And one of the issues I was raising is the health sector. Health is very important sector which need to be handled by national government, but everybody was up in arms. No, this is devolved, should go out there. What we need to understand is what we are dealing with here is a war-like scenario. This is a war, and when you go to the war, if any country invades Kenya today, the government will be out there buying ammunition, buying tanks, buying I don't know what for their soldiers. So likewise, we should be buying ammunition and these protective gears to our doctors so that they can fight this pandemic on our behalf. We do not have technical know-how on how to treat people. It is the doctors who have been trained to treat people, and we should equip them up to the teeth so that they can fight for us. If we do not do this, then we are going to lose this war. And to lose this war is to have so many cases of people dying, including the doctors themselves. It's like you are sending soldiers out there with the arrows, and other people, they have bazookas, the AK-47s, the tankers. They will defeat you. This pandemic is like a war. That's what we need to understand as a country. And the government needs to take it so seriously and put their monies and priorities into this war and acquire whatever necessary weapons is required to fight it. It is not only doctors who are dying. It is everyone who is dying. We have lost even the members of parliament themselves. They have died out of COVID. We have lost MCS. And when we talk about legislation, what do you talk when you do not have resources? You may put laws, but at the end of the day, the buck stops at the national government, and this is the money. The institution which owed the money. It is the national treasury, and money should be released. The money has already been released. We bought equipment, but we kept them at KEMSA. The procurement laws allows. It's also so stiff that the person at KEMSA cannot just release equipment like this because the counties are supposed to buy those equipment from the KEMSA. So it's like a business thing here, and they are saying they are too expensive to afford them. So that's why I'm saying that it is the government who should provide these protective gears. When our military are going out there, they don't buy equipment from a government institution. The government buys this equipment and they put it in a government institution, and then they distribute them for free into our barracks. Our barracks don't buy guns. It is the government who buys guns and then distribute them to the police, to army, and to everyone. So if we do that, we provide equipment and medicine for free to our doctors. Our doctors are so kind. They will be out there and do what they have been trained to do, but they cannot do it when they have nothing to protect themselves and also to protect those who they are treating. So it is very important to understand this. We have gotten our priorities upside down, and that's why we are in this quagmire.
Indeed. Mr. Honorable Odera, do you agree with the fact that the government has its priorities wrong?
Well, in not getting protective equipment to the doctors, in not ensuring that there are enough ICU beds and even only palliative drugs to relieve pain for people who are suffering the COVID infection. The priorities may be there, but action is lacking. Typical of what happens in the public service in Kenya, you get money budgeted for, you get programs drawn, you get action plans crafted and put on the shelves, and then that money disappears somewhere along the line. The equipment disappears somewhere along the line. However, I think at this point in time, the government needs to spend a good amount of its attention on how we can get, there are 4 prospective vaccines now that seem to have good prospects for helping the whole world to deal with this pandemic.
Yes.
The government needs to spend some of its attention on how one or more of those vaccines can reach people in Kenya as soon as possible. The European Union has already bought 300 million doses for its people. The US government is prioritizing the Moderna vaccine. They are probably starting next month to distribute the vaccine to its people.
Yes.
Japan has forward bought a lot of vaccines for its people, and a lot of nations have done that as well. I haven't heard anything about the Kenyan government, and we know that the Kenyan government is involved in the development of one of them through KEMRI. So can we hear more of that? Because, you know, humanity lives on hope. Canon Weda will tell you from the Bible, there is love, faith, and hope. And above all, there is love, but people live on hope. I mean, if we are hopeful, if we know that soon we will get a vaccine into Kenya and it will be able to reach the people of Kenya, then we can live on hope. It is easier to encourage people who have hope of a better tomorrow to act well today.
Yes. So
even as we encourage people to social distance, to wear masks, and by the way, masks may seem cheap to the middle class, but it is a sacrifice for certain sections of our society to buy masks and to wear them. So you need to put everything into perspective, especially the economic aspects of COVID. It means, in essence, COVID means that there are certain economic activities that cannot take place because the pandemic is here. And what does that mean? It means some people don't have food, they don't have money to spend on medical care, they don't have basics that ordinarily they would require. Therefore, we need to hear about the vaccine. We need to have a plan. We need that plan given to Kenyans. That hope must be given to Kenyans that a vaccine is coming. The government needs to put its best foot forward to ensure that in the scramble for the first lots of the vaccine, we are part of it. Government doing that? I haven't heard of it.
Yes, yes. Now, thank you very much for your sentiments on that. Let's shift gears to another crisis, or rather impending crisis, that has to do with the locust invasions. The Food and Agriculture Organization has warned of a second wave of the locust invasion because they are of the southerly winds that are going to be carrying them from Ethiopia and Somalia back into Kenya. This, of course, is a danger to food security, and we do know, we all witnessed how this was dealt with in the first round. Mr. Weda, when you hear this news, what do you make of it?
Well, the locusts have been there since the days of Moses. The Egyptian locusts have been there. The only problem is that we have always mishandled this when they turn up. So the previous minister from home would tell us to take photos and send over. Then my brother Peter Munya, he tried in a wobbly manner, and somehow the locusts went to Uganda. But if you look at it generally, it's a small problem. In modern times, locusts are a small problem that if we gave it the energy we are giving BBI, the locusts will not even enter Kenya. Even if they enter, they will not move an inch.
Okay.
But we are not. We have left that to the minister to struggle with it, to follow it with some rickety old aeroplanes and so on. So I really think when we are worrying about locusts at these modern times, it is not because the locusts are dangerous. It is because our priorities are on the wrong things. The priorities are on things which are not priorities. I'm telling you, if you just give fighting the locusts and protecting the doctors and reducing corona, just 10% of the attention and the resources and the love we have put for BBI and the dancing we dance for the locusts, the way we dance for BBI and all these things, we will deal with these issues. But since they are non-issues to the middle class, those who eat caviar, they don't care whether locusts eat your food, because they eat steak in Dubai and in other countries, and they have food in their houses that are able to last for a year. There's enough steak, there's enough fish, there's enough grain, there's enough ngano, everything. So when you are crying about locusts, they don't understand. So our problem is not locusts. Our problem is priorities. We are being led by fed, rich, happy people. People who, when you tell them there's no Uganda, they say, why can't you just cook rice? When you say there's no rice, they say, why can't you do chapatis? What's wrong with you? When you say they have eaten our grains, they say, Why can't we import?
Yeah.
That's where we are. And I'm still pleading with the leaders. Please slow down on these other relevant things and let's deal with the corona, let's deal with the locusts, let's deal with security of our country, let's grow our economy, let's create jobs. Then thereafter we can dance ourselves to reggae. Reggae will still be there. It was there with Bob Marley many years ago, it will be there. But when you die of corona, you are dead. When you die of hunger, you are dead. I am praying to my president, priorities.
Honorable Mutambo.
Jobs, corona. Yes.
Honorable Mutambo, your take.
Yes, it is very much worrying to hear that the locusts are coming. And you know, the big problem is that actually when it comes, it starts invading us before it gets to where does it place. They come to the eastern part of our country where I normally come from, and we are the most affected people. And I totally agree with the Empress when he says that we are getting our priorities right. These are small instincts which we can take care of. If locals are trained on how to deal with them and they are armed and they are facilitated. Today we are getting the warning that locust is coming. I have not seen or had any seminar or any information being passed by the people who are affected. You know, we should be our gatekeepers. We should be the one who are doing it. But if the minister want to fly there with the helicopter and talk about the locust instead of, and they have the systems, instead of using the system to make sure that the information has been given and the medicine, the instrument to fight locusts has already been prepared and the locals have been prepared. Instead of telling me to take a photo, tell me once you see this thing, spray this and give it to me so that I be your soldier, I be your agent, I be the person who is gatekeeping that area. Locusts will be something to deal with without even much ado. I don't see why we are focusing so much that locust is coming and then it becomes a national cry. It should not. We have people on the ground who can deal with these insects perpendicularly and you will not see them. But the problem is that we are not getting our priorities right and we are not doing the right things as a government. That is where I'm saying it. I know I'm in government, but we are not getting our priorities right. It is the people who are there who should advise the president, because I don't think we have a Superman by the name the president. President is a person who also needs to be advised by the people around him and tell him, if we want to curb this, we need to fight it in this manner. But if we keep quiet and we leave it to the minister who don't even have a clue, he will tell you to take a photo and send it to us, or he would want to take an helicopter and fly there and see them by himself, then that is why we are getting people.
Honorable Dera, what's your take on this one?
I mean, in a country with a budget of 3 trillion shillings, what we should be hearing about locusts is that we are expecting locusts to invade a certain area. We've put in place this to deal with the locusts when they try to invade, and then we get a report that they've been dealt with. Because locusts eat what we eat. They eat what our poultry and what our animals eat. And therefore, if locusts invade a place, you expect famine. And with famine, you expect death. You expect decline in food security. You expect decline in the economy of the area. And therefore, it's not difficult. And I agree with Canon Weda. It is a small matter if you deal with it in a timely fashion, and if the pipe between release of funds and action is not leaking. If that pipe is not leaking, it means that the funds that are set aside to deal with the locusts are used to deal with the locusts. But because the pipe forever leaks, those funds find their way elsewhere, and therefore the locusts are left to eat what we eat and what our poultry and what our animals eat. And it should then be, at a point where I think in future we should have a situation where before budgeting for the following financial year, even before the Auditor General comes in to audit, which is well after the fact, we should have a review about effectiveness, about efficiency, about how properly funds that have been allocated to certain departments have been deployed.
Yes.
And if something like locusts happens, where is the emergency fund? Where is the emergency funding?
A very good question there.
Where is the emergency response capability of our country to deal with those things?
Indeed.
And should have such honest, candid, in-depth reviews that must reveal that the problem we have is consistent leakage of funds. The pipe is leaking, and therefore the water doesn't get to its destination. And it's a no-brainer, except that the courage to deal with it is what we require.
Okay, thank you very much. Arthur Adera is an ex-legislator, Teso North. Joe Mutambo is former Mwingi Central Member of Parliament, as well as Ambrose Wedder, who is a lawyer. Thank you for bringing context to our conversation and the major events that have transpired over the weekend. Now, let's shift gears. We'll take a break, but before that, just remember we're going to have Sports Chat. Robin Toskin has prepared the very latest in sports, and he shall have a special panel to discuss the very latest in the sports industry and sector. Stay tuned for that and much more. You're watching Morning Express.
This is KTN News.